All right, well, we're back. So what I'm showing you here is I'm trying to demonstrate what it would be like if the machine was having a problem with no flow coming out of the tubing. I don't have tubing on here, but I've got my finger over the end, which demonstrates it. If you look closely to here, that ball was at 2, and now it's at 0. It's right at the bottom, okay? There's two things you can check on a machine that's doing this action right now before you call the nurse to come in and take a look at the equipment. Number one, make sure there's no kink in the tubing. Make sure the resident is not sitting on it or is bending it or whatever, because that can cause a problem. If you're unsure if it's the tubing, first thing you want to do, and I'm going to get you to zoom in on this here, the first thing you're going to do is pull the tubing off the concentrator, and if that ball pops up, you know it's the tubing. Can't be anything else, okay? If you put the tubing back on without fixing it, it goes right back down to 0, okay? That's number one. The second thing that can happen is someone can come in and they turn the flow off. We don't want to do that. Like I said before, we want to make sure we keep the flow on and leave it, okay? So if maybe the resident was fiddling with it and they turned it down, well, that can also cause a problem. But you'll notice what just happened. I turned the flow back up because that was the problem, but the flow is not restricted anymore, so now there's no more alarm, okay? Last thing for alarms you want to see is what happens if there's no power, okay? It can be no different if I unplugged it. There's no lights, but that means there's no power. It's not doing anything, okay? The best thing to do in that particular case is shut the unit off, put your resident on the backup oxygen or the portable oxygen in this case, and then try to determine what's happening with the equipment. Always leave your resident with oxygen on while you're trying to solve a problem. We're going to pause there and we're going to take a look at